Welcome to the Mista Trick podcast with the legend that is Joe Rodwell. Joe,
Hey.
tell the people who you are in case they don't know.
I'm Joe Rodwell, you just said. I am a producer, mix engineer, composer type person based in Surrey now. I was in London for a long time and now I've moved to Surrey, which is it's nice. But I play a bunch of instruments. Been doing a lot more electro swing in the last few years by yourself and Eleanor Pocket Bells and some other artists as well. So,
Yeah, and can you give the people a few name drops of some people you're working with at the moment?
Some people don't like me name dropping about them.
Sorry,
I got in trouble for name dropping stuff recently.
Oh, really? Okay, he's worked with all the greats, so and that's all we can say. That's all we can say.
Craig David, Chase and Status, Ed Sheeran years and years ago before I knew who he was.
Wow.
Some people, but yeah.
Sick. So today, what are we looking at? What's this project?
So we're looking at See You Later. The project name will be wrong here because it's the old title, You Must Go, and I just never changed it on here. But it was the first single we did with Eleanor Pocket Bells within this new era of electro swing for them. So the Eleanor Pocket Bells have been around for quite a little while now. We've both been involved with them for at least 10 years. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And originally they were doing a lot of vintage swing stuff, and with like a backing band or backing track, but very much swing music. And then they bumped into you at some point 10-ish years ago, and you were starting to do some remixes of their stuff, both in electro swing and swing and bass and various dance music meets swing genres. That's kind of how it worked for a while. You had Eleanor Pocket Bells, and then had your remixes, which we then also gigged with, like, as a Mista Trick project, Mista Trick and Eleanor Pocket Bells together.
Yeah,
and a lot we did like an album's worth of tracks a while ago that we made for CDs and kind of sold at gigs, but never really pushed anything onto like the streaming online world. And then it came to pass, and tell me if I'm saying this wrong. I think this is right. We kind of all decided, like, collectively, that maybe we should do an electro swing album and use some of that old material and kind of rebrand is the wrong word because their brand hasn't changed at all, but just energize what their music studio releases could be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. And the reason I said that I wanted us to look at this track today, because hand on heart, like, we work together, but I think this is the strongest single on the album. You might have your own vision to, like, people, producers, for favorite certain songs on the album, but for me this song is really, really strong, showcases them really well, and like everyone's production on this I just think was on point.
I kind of agree. I mean, I like a lot of the songs on the album, but I think because this was the first single, I think we probably spent the most time on it, to be fair, as well. Like, it was the one that had a bit more flexibility in kind of getting things ready and getting the track ready and kind of then like showcasing it to the label, kind of pitching it. So this had probably a bit more love and attention. Not the other songs didn't have that, but as soon as the first song came out, we were like, right, we need to start making the other tunes. So I think this had a little bit more time to it, and it was kind of like the blueprint for how we wanted the rest of it to kind of sound, I guess. But yeah, I think I similarly think it sounds good. I think, if I'm not allowed to have favorite mixes, this is definitely my favorite mix.
Yeah,
this or Dance with the Devil. I think if of the two, like, I mixed about 3 or 4 of the tracks on the album, and I think one of those two is my favorites that way.
Wicked. Well, let's get stuck into it, and let's play a little bit of it.
Yes.
So the people can hear what we're talking about.
Yeah. I will say I haven't opened this project since then. I just renamed it today just to see if we change anything, because if I mess it up and this is the final project.
Wicked.
Anyway, play it, Joe. Shut up.
Yeah, play it, mate.
See you later, boy, I will not play this game. See you later, boy, my beat is back again. I will not let you stay and keep me down. So take your hat and take your coat. Ooh, I'll see you around.
Yeah, man.
into the
Yeah.
first chorus thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's really, really good. I like it. I like the fact that you haven't actually got to the drop. Like there's a little mini drop and then there's the actual drop on the chorus. And I think it's really like it has a journey to it, which is great. Um, so let's like look at I guess what we first started with, like from what was it, Philippa's production.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I even have
No,
that.
no, don't open it. Don't
Yeah.
open it. But just like in terms of what was it? It was
Oh,
just
okay. So
piano.
yeah. Oh, doorbell rang.
Doorbell.
Amazon parcel. I'm walking off. Seeing one of camera here. Bye. Okay. Yeah. So it was originally just like drum kit, double bass, piano. Well, let's see, the 5 vocals and 2 horns. It probably would have been just trumpet and trombone because I think we were doing it as it was done live. So not necessarily like loads of layered horns as it kind of turned into. And I think from there, you did a version of it, I think a while back as well for the live stuff. I kind of like had this like 3 iterations, I guess, the original Philippa Herrick arrangement recording, and then the Mista Trick remix thing, and then it became somewhere between the two and what it is now.
Yeah.
What's made it from the original into this is actually very little, I think. I think it's one of those things that I think I really wanted to keep a lot of the original elements unless it didn't work, and then sometimes it didn't work. So as you come to see down here, like I've got sections out here. It's not all wonderfully labeled, but all this top section is electronic drums. And then this section is the remainder of what is left of the live drums, which I'll play in a minute.
Yeah.
Percussion stuff. There's a small double bass section. I think actually the double bass was re-recorded for this. I think I actually got somebody on Fiverr to record the double bass.
Oh, sick.
As a last minute thing, I thought, do you know what? I need it. Because the way we recorded it was for a different vibe, you know. And it was just the quality of the recording needed to be different. Not better or worse, it's different.
Yeah.
I just found somebody, I can't remember his name right now, but I'll find it.
Sure.
Something in this, but he was great. Then some synth basses, and then the piano. That's not piano. It says
the synth bass. Was that what I sent you?
I think it is.
Is it a synth or is it's just your audio, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's
It might have been a Trillion. It might have been Serum. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, because you've got a sub and a saw thing here. So
yeah.
And then the double bass comes in on the verses.
Yeah.
Which is just a DI double bass, and I think for this it just needed to be a really clean sound. Recording double basses like with actual microphones is a world of difficulty.
I know that.
It depends on so many things, like the player, the quality of the instrument you're playing on, the age of the strings, the room, and the microphone, where the microphone's placed. It's so many things that go into that sound. Getting a DI thing on this was like, clean, easy, like, you know.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like also like how they're slapping it, you know, and all those other like top end artifacts were quite frustrating for the Mista Trick album. But
I'm just checking if he had a little bit of the original piano. I think no. Oh, that's double bass again. No, so I think the original piano is not there anymore. We did have live drums, which is kind of, let's have a listen to these.
So you've got, for the live drums, you've got like the room, left and right, overhead, was that mono and then snare?
Yeah. So this would have been from the original recording at Resident Studios 8 years ago. So Charlie Price on drums. So I think I obviously kept, particularly like, I think he was doing a lot of rim, like, you know, cool rim stuff, which really works for this sort of genre.
Yeah.
And then sitting on top of a.
So what's the one above vinyl? It says you've got a plug-in on the drums. What's that called? Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven. That's just like a reverb thing. It kind of emulates the Bricasti M7 hardware thing. I love this thing. It's literally become my most used reverb in recent times. It does like small rooms and just spaces really well.
Yeah.
Like a big like flashy verb. It's not necessarily that, but like I use a scoring stage setting quite a lot. So that I already use the small rooms. So
nice. And then the vinyl one, to get that kind of, is that for the vintage sound?
Indeed.
this is the latest
Yeah.
isotope one.
UGUI. I think it's exactly the same. It just looks different. I think you can.
So you're going for 1950 setting on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think I don't know if you've done the same thing, but trying to get things sounding old or lo-fi and stuff. I like vinyl is one of the first things I found for it. It's a free plugin from Isotope. It's like for free stuff is great. And I think I shouldn't just use that. I should try lots of different things. And now I've gone full circle, and I just like vinyl works really well. I'm just going to use vinyl, and there's enough settings on here to kind of change. I mean, let's have a little. I'll solo these, and then we'll take it on and off, so we can kind of have a rough off, on. I mean, it's basically just like a bandpass.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better on instruments because you really tell the difference.
Yeah.
But like it's interesting you've used it on the drums. Obviously, you got Soothie 2, and then you've got Shadow Hall. What's that one?
Oh, so this is all my master bus chains.
Yeah.
So, I've got lots of. Okay, we'll skip to the master bus. I've got a low cut.
Oh, is that? Sorry, that's the sorry. What am I doing?
Yeah, no,
I've just jumped.
This is the live drums bus. So I think all the individual bits will have some like compression and a little bit of comp and EQ. I'm probably not doing that much on. Yeah, just like rolling off low.
Yeah.
Nothing on the other ones. A little bit compression again on the mono. Yeah, same sort of thing.
So there's an interesting thing. I see you've done like a low roll, and there's a bit of an debate online about low cutting versus low roll. Damage it. Does it? You feel like you have to do a really strong cue to get that, precise, or do you lose some resonance?
I mean, I don't really care as long as it sounds right. You know what I mean? But there is definitely something in my mind that a more smooth curve is going to be a more natural sounding thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that the more pointed your arc is, the more resonances you might get where that point is. In this scenario, I don't think it really matters too much. I probably was just a straightforward, lazy. If I chuck on Fab Filter, it would be. I'll do this, and I'll do that, and go cool. Done.
I'm
not thinking about it too much. As long as I'm listening and going cool. Or about there. I don't really think about too much about doing that.
Yeah, just the brick walling. Like, there's people that are like, "No, you've got to do this," to stop getting.
If anyone says you've got to do something, then they're wrong. It's a very good. It could be a very strong suggestion, but you don't have to.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
nice.
Cool. So yeah, that's the live drums element. And what should we go to next? Should I just run down?
We've got to the bass, and then we had the guitar. What's going on with your guitar?
Okay, so guitar, I'll just solo that. I'm not sure how. This is the dangerous thing when you solo things. It's like, I sound shit.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Find out. That sounds alright.
I think the thing with like the Ella and the Pocket Bells album, where we were at the beginning of it, a lot of it didn't have that swing guitar, and a lot of like all the other stuffs that we electro swing tracks we're working on, the guitar is so important, really to bring that energy and to not, again, going back to like having the recording right, getting the right player, getting the right type of guitar strings, etc. But like just bringing it forward and even like having layers of guitar as well, doing different grooves.
Yeah, I find one of the most important things I learned along doing a lot of the album was your offbeats need to be like they're kind of the key to, especially when the housey sort of sounding electric swing. Like, you don't have to have hats necessarily, but your offbeats need to be strong.
Yeah.
And like in this, we've probably got quite a few things doing the same thing. So the piano will be doing it. I don't know what this is. This is that. Oh, cool. That's just a kind of like muted guitar percussion.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. Like all these little bits of detail.
And I'm tell you what, I'm probably, maybe it doesn't look like it, but I'm definitely making sure that these things are kind of really hitting hard on that beat. So transient. Like I'm like really cutting down on I really just want the bat to happen. But you're gonna get the because of the layering, you're gonna get enough detail of the character of the instruments. I really just want it to be hitting hard, like a hi-hat would be. I don't know what else I've got. Just a little bit of shaping. again, a room, just a small room, putting that on there.
Do you put the room on a lot of your instruments to make them all feel like more natural and stuff,
Yeah,
and like they're together?
I mean, the guitar was recorded here, like,
Yeah.
recording in this room. This room is pretty dead. I was probably recording pretty close up with this microphone. We ignore that.
It's all crashing down. Okay, so so you've got the guitars doing the. Yeah.
Anytime I'm recording in a room, it's going to be like probably in a dryish room. So I want to kind of make it fit into some kind of space.
So are you doing that on a lot of the things? You're going, right, let's put all the instruments into one room, or is it just general?
I don't. I know there's different schools of thought on this. Like, I tend not to bus everything to the same room anymore because two reasons, I guess. I said two. What are they going to be? One of them is so I can have a bit more control of what that reverb is doing on that particular instrument. So I might have gone in. I probably haven't, but yeah, okay. I've not turned any like the high cut, low cut on here. I might want that on certain instruments a bit more. I just like the control really, and I feel like once you start sending everything to the same bus reverb wise, that reverb channel can get a bit clogged. Yeah, and if you don't have the control of it. I'm starting to stick things on channels again a bit more. I think it depends on processing power as well, right? People used to send things to bus because the computer would handle one instance of that reverb better. Whereas now, I don't have infinite power on this computer, but I've got a reasonable amount, so I can kind of get away with throwing it on.
Yeah.
I guess on this as well, I'm just going to point out because I've got kickstart on the offbeat thing here, and that's also pushing down that.
Yeah, just making it like pulse more. Yeah,
just gives it a little bit more. Really chucks down that offbeat, the like on-beat side of that part. So
sick. And then obviously pan left and right.
Yeah.
Same as the other guitar. Piano is I don't know, what have I used? Contacts.
I think so. We had recorded a piano before, but the way Paul, he's amazing, great piano player, but it was a lot more full, and it was kind of a bit too muddy and a bit like bong dung 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 dung, and I don't want all that information, so I've literally ended up just being short, simple, using. It almost doesn't really matter which piano part in this necessarily, but I love the Native Instruments Noir. I use it quite a lot for a lot of stuff. It's just a nice sounding piano. It's going through vinyl right now, so it sounds quite thin again. But so I think actually I've got a few things going through the same. No, it's just piano here.
Wicked. And then you've got like random effects. You've got like crowds, whooshes, and whatnot.
All that stuff. Crowd stuff makes. I mean, we've talked about this a few times, just us two. But it's like having that kind of ambient sound makes such a difference to certain songs. It can really fill that space. It can make something sound really authentic without just chucking some kind of ambient noise in. I think that crowd. It's really simple. There's nothing going on much, but it's just. Puts you in a mood, puts you in a place,
Yeah, I think the album, like, there was a lot of that on songs where it would just start off with, kind of jazz club or a streets, and everything would like be more, and then there'd be like maybe a vocal sample at the beginning. We kind of had that kind of continuation on a lot of the songs, and it's great, man. It's really cool. And then the sound effects. Is there anything else we missed? Obviously the brass. Oh no, what's that?
So I'll skip. This is all vocals. This bluey area. And the orangey area is all the brass parts. I don't know why this has gone that color, but brass is probably again vinyl and spring. No, wrong thing. Yeah, it's got a bit of vinyl again. The brass,
so you got Decapitator, which is I'm jealous because I don't have that anymore.
So these would be this is the original brass line. So this is like, I think John Spaniel on trombone, and we're kind of doing like two parts each sort of things. Quite thin sounding, but in the mix it's kind of. kind of sits quite nicely without getting in the way of the vocals if they're that thin.
What's that track SPC at the end?
That is track spacer, and I'm pretty sure that's what's bus. Now I had to figure out what bus 50 is, but I imagine that's
But
probably
vocals,
all vocals channel here. Which
I think I've thought about that.
Again, it's just pushing the brass slightly out of the way.
Mate,
frequencies
genius, brilliant.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that on Fab Filter Pro Q3, but it's not as like detailed as that one.
This is built to do that, whereas Fab Filter's
yeah.
not, right?
So the amount looks like it's only on like
tiny. I find with this is you don't need much because like as soon as you go up to like up here, I just want
yeah.
And you can kind of choose where it goes, and you can also, which I've started playing around with a bit more, is you can do mid-side stuff.
Ooh,
this is quite nice. If you don't care about mono, which we kind of care about mono dance music, but in this scenario, like some scenarios you don't care about mono.
Yeah,
it being summing down to mono. Well, you can push down like the mid band, say, of the instruments. But then the sides can stay loud, so the vocal will push down like the central material, but keep the sides up. This is quite cool.
So, but you haven't done it on this song?
No, I think I'm a little bit more mono conscious.
I feel like you. I think the interesting thing for me with working with like how you've worked with the first Swing album is that you were panning a lot of things, and I was trying to bring it a bit more mono because of the dance element. And like you. I think you just is that kind of adapting from.
It's an interesting one, and I genuinely sat there like listened to a lot of electro swing stuff, and I'd sit there and press. I got a little button on my sound card. I can just put everything in mono, and I was just checking to see what they were doing because like electro swing's a funny genre because it's a DJ'd material, but it's also a cafe material. It's also like people listen for listening, not just for clubs or things. So it covers a wider base. So I think as long as my like your vocals and your snare kick, all the main dancing material, shall we say, is central and not too wide. Vocals are a little bit like because you've got 5 girls, you kind of have to do a little bit of spread, but like, most of it kind of is central. But with like fancy elements, I don't mind panning it left and right. And actually, if you're panning things left and right, it's fine. It's when you start doing like stereo spreads and like mid-side stuff, that's where you start to lose stuff because that's actively working on phase disparity. But if I'm panning a guitar left and panning a guitar right, when they sum, they're just both going to be playing in the middle. There's no issue with that because they're 2 separate things recorded at the same time. If I did that one guitar and then I put a chorus or a stereoizer on it, then it's going to start sounding mushy as soon as you go to mono because the phase will be out of line.
But is that the same as if you put it on a send? Like if you had a mono, you send it to like a spreader plugin. I
mean, there's stuff like that's a way of doing it, but it's still going to have those stereo elements are going to smush down a bit. But there's a good way of doing it because you can take like it's like wet and dry. Then isn't it? You've got a dry mono signal and then a wet stereo.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this might not come through a crappy mono club, but it'll. I love it. So.
Yeah, interesting. So you're saying it's best to have effectively 2 recordings of something, pan it left and right, than have a mono and send it to something.
I mean, there's going to be issues with that. Like, if you're doing that with a double bass, it's not going to. Bass is a different thing because the wave is big. If you've got 2 waves that are similar to that and they're kind of fighting each other, it's going to sound weird. When you get to like the higher frequencies, it's going to be fine.
So vocals, you've got shed loads on that. Oh my god!
I don't know if this is PC or not. You can beat me out later.
Shed loads.
So, don't come at me. But let's go through it. Like a lot of this, the vocal sound took a long time because it's this real fight between sounding vintage, sounding modern, but like cutting through. But not being too harsh because there's 5 vocalists. There's a lot of high mid frequencies to kind of shove in your face.
And they're all like, I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself.
They're quite good about that sort of stuff. But it's but it is a balance to it. I mean, I don't know if it's on each track. Each individual has a soothe on anyway. Because
Okay, so there's not much going on each.
No, the individuals have got nothing. It's just like one big bus.
I can see the soothies on, or soothe is on a lot of your channels. Is it? I take it as a stupid question. It's worth getting, right?
I use it all the time. Like I think it just makes my life easier. Makes it for me. I am quite like mid band phobic. As soon as something in the 1K area gets too loud, I really notice it and it annoys me. So this is my way of controlling it. It's not always that. I love this on like basses as well because you can really like control the low end on stuff.
So you on this, you've brought the mid. Well, yeah, the mids up. So what's that doing? Is it?
Yes, the way Soothe works, which is once you know it, you're fine. But it might seem like opposite. I want it to work on the mid band more, so I'm pushing the mid band up.
So and is it pulling those frequencies down?
And then you can choose like how sharp they are, or like how smooth it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you can choose how much it does it on. It's all sorts of things, but especially when it's a 5-girl group and their vocal resonances by their body shape and their vocal cords is all going to be different.
Yeah.
They're going to be pinging at different places. So therefore, I put one on each of them just to control their own things. I don't think I would have changed much. This is literally my default setting most of the time.
Are you gone and you've panned someone 43, which for me sounds super wide, but you know, I guess.
See you later, boy. I will not play this game.
I think in certain points I'm mono. It might have even panned. I might have even automated the panning on this. Yeah, I have. So that was like, especially for this first section, I've kind of made it so they're mono.
I'll see you around.
Wide.
See, nice.
And on the drop, it kind of goes. You know.
Yeah, mate, it's sick. And so let's look at that bus. You've done soothing.
Right. Who knows?
C4.
So what am I doing? Let's go through it. I'm probably doing again, probably the same sort of default. I'm probably doing a little bit more mid stuff.
Yeah.
C4. This is my kind of rough default of. I'm pushing up the mids a little bit, but so it kind of gets to a flat point.
So you've used Soothie to bring it down, and then C4 to bring it back up again.
Yeah. Oh, why is my Zoom is saying I extended it? Oh, I can. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, then it's all. This is all kind of just doing the same sort of massage work. Then this is like my main kind of what am I doing? Shaping wise, I want kind of this area to be like, this is like your vintagey area, really. Yeah. Actually, even down here, but in this mix, it's gone a bit higher.
Yeah. So
rolled up some lows, rolled up some highs, which is probably the most important thing in this. If I didn't have that on, that would be noticeably brighter. Hard to hear.
Yeah. I'm starting to realize like the importance of like rolling off the top ends and stuff. It's always been focused on the low, and now I think I'm starting to focus on the tops. But this black box analog
like a saturation thing. It's quite similar to Decapitator, I guess, in some ways. It's just a little bit more detailed. This might crash because these plugins started to crash recently, but we'll find out.
Well, just don't.
So take your hat and take your coat.
Well, it's adding a minimal amount of like warmth to the mids.
I can see it saying triad and pent like that. Sweet.
We can carry
you
on.
were absolutely right. So it said pentatonic and triad.
Triad. So it's two different types of distortion.
Yeah.
Like one is like odd order and one is even order harmonics.
Yeah. I did a studio session with Serial Killers, and he told me all about the like there's a plugin that where you can choose the rate of the fundamentals, you know, if it's going by octaves, fifths and third. Is that the same?
Yeah, it's the kind of odd order and even order harmonics. Like one is more octaves, one's more fifthly.
I think I want to get something like that. So it's black box.
Yes, Plugin Alliance. So their plugins are really good, except they crash in the lane.
yeah, you'd recommend it, but not.
Yeah.
It's funny when you're making tunes and things crash, and it just really stops that creative flow, and like it can be so annoying.
I hate it. It does annoy me. I mean, there is a workaround for that at the moment. So there's a Waves plugin called Studio Rack, which is
Oh yeah, I saw your video on your channel about that
yeah. So now I use all my. This obviously happened like, well, I don't know.
before.
Yeah, before 6, 7 months ago, and they were working then. So, or they weren't working, and I didn't know the workaround. One of the two.
So Studio Rack, you put the plugins on that, and if they crash, it just crashes.
They won't crash. They don't crash in there because of I don't know why, but it's because it's being hosted through an external thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got. I've just clocked in some massive automation on channel 121. That is like something's going down, and 120.
Nothing.
That's nothing. That's
These are dead
nothing.
channels. Look at that. This is like
Okay.
I've gone through. I say I didn't go through this beforehand.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
cool. So the vocals.
So, okay, I'm not going to open that black box again, but that's doing the
No.
low saturation in the low mids. I decided at some point that it's got too much. This is not necessarily the best way to work from a starting point. If you're doing like a normal vocal, I wouldn't do this. But because we're working in this vintage electro sing world, I'm trying shit out basically. I'm going as I tend not to tweak old things. I go, it sounded good, but it's got too much lows now. So this is what that's for. You know, drawing a little bum on Pro Q3 to pull out some lows. As I'm going along, I'm going, okay, what else can it use? Sketch Cassette's probably doing most of the vintage soundy work on this, I reckon.
I will not let you stay and keep
Yeah.
me down. So take your hat and take your coat. Ooh, I'll see you around.
So you've got a tiny bit of wow going on, and a bit of worn.
I mean, most of this isn't being used. It's mostly this age thing.
Yeah.
So Type 2 cassette. So the different cassettes have different sounds. Type 1 is like the most lo-fi sound. Type 2 is the next, like, as they go up. And then this is kind of where a lot of that.
I will not let you stay and keep me down. So take your hat and
That's the thing. I'm also using this, like, they've got this little compressor, NR Comp, which I think is a noise reduction compressor that used to be used. It's like the old Dolby NR thing you used to have on old cassette players. You'd put in like it would make you'd lose the hiss on like the top end of stuff, and
Yeah.
it's kind of done by some compression. And this plugin Aberrant have kind of modelled it as well. And I think it actually sounds pretty.
I will not let you stay and keep me down.
I'm not doing
So
much of
take
it,
your hat and take your coat.
but it kind of just pushes it a little bit more. Quite like that. I'm only actually that's why I obviously tried it and thought actually I don't want that much of it, but.
I will not let you stay and keep me down.
But that's where most of my lo-fi thing comes from, and that's it. Like I would have gone through a choice. I definitely would have tried vinyl. I definitely would have tried something else. It ended up being this one. I really like what Sketch Cassette does to like the mids. It kind of just makes them quite nice and fluffy, and without losing any presence, it kind of just pushes there. You tend to have to roll stuff off to kind of make up for that. I mean, this is going down. This list looks stupid when I look at it.
It's great.
What I tend to do, this is actually something I tend to do a lot when I'm doing vintagey sort of sounded things. So whatever my main vintagizer is, if it's vinyl or sketch cassette, because it rolls off a lot of the highs, I kind of just push up the highs with Vitamin. Vitamin is not an EQ; it's more of a multi-band, a bit like FabFilter Saturn, like a multi-band saturator. So I'm kind of just This is saturation, not EQ.
I will not let you stay and keep me down.
So
take your hat and take your coat. Ooh, I'll see.
I think for certain things that does really nice things.
It's interesting. You're kind of like finely tuning it, and then like bringing stuff down, and then bringing stuff back up, which is
it doesn't seem logical, but it's just the process of kind of going not quite, yes, not quite,
yeah.
And
then you've got a Berman Nicky Romeo somewhere.
When I first started doing this, I thought, should I be really doing this? Because like it's vocals, but I probably automated it somewhere in here, and it kind of works where it needs to work.
Oh wow! So wait, before the drops, is that?
Do you know? I might have not even used it. To be honest, it might even be dead. I think I've used
No,
it.
you can. There's like there's a tiny bit there. So it's on the drop. It's like there and then disappears.
See you later, boy.
I don't,
Oh
unless
yeah.
I haven't really used it that much. I kind of used it at the beginning of certain hits. So
No, no, no.
I mean, I don't. That
Ah.
doesn't seem particularly logical to me. But I probably tried it. I probably used it and then didn't go. I don't actually need it. But I have actually. But not in this tune, but in other tunes. I actually think
Mm,
it really, if you really want it to sound pumping, it actually sounds quite cool in the vocals. Like,
mm.
Happy when you walk right out.
yeah,
Later, boy, I will not play this game.
it just kind of gives you that,
See you later, boy.
yeah, pump.
Mm,
Close
mm,
four.
mm, mm.
But that kickstart's
Yeah,
basically not doing very much. There we go. Main
yeah.
compressor
Later, boy, I will not play this game.
Whoa,
and
you've
quite
got
hard.
the
Later, boy, my beat is back again.
He's looking. He's looking.
that's going quite hard, isn't it?
It's going quite hard, but I think I can. In this scenario, I can get away with it. Like,
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that for every song ever, of course, you know. But it,
yeah.
See you later, boy, I will not play this game.
Mm.
See you later, boy, my beat is back again. I will not let you stay and keep me down.
it's just making sure that everything stays forward, you know, and like it
mm.
stays in that one band quite strong. It's so weird because it's a 5-girl group, and you want it to be in a real life scenario. You want it to be quite dynamic and have that. But here, I just want it to be like, I don't want the vocal to get lost at any point.
Yeah,
I'm always just making sure it's kind of not pinned necessarily, although it's quite pinned here. But I think it kind of needs to sit in that band,
mm,
never leave it, you know. And it's like
Mhm.
every word can then kind of pop out a little bit more.
yeah. And then next up,
J37.
Jay's the standard.
Why? I don't know.
Whoa, you're doing it as a lot.
This is a slap. Actually,
Yeah.
it's like a slap delay, I think.
See you later, boy, I will not play this game. See you later, boy, my beat is back again.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this speed, so the speed of the tape makes a difference here. This is probably going, do you know what? Like 10 plugins down, I'm going, I don't think it's quite lo-fi enough.
Yeah.
Basically what that is, I'm going to go,
Yeah.
right, let's chuck a J37 on the
J37, I feel like it makes stuff just have a bit more soul.
Yeah, it
Like
really
when you put stuff on through it, it just, I don't know, it just brings it a little bit more to life.
I think this plugin is just it's just so many things really well. It like does that thing of bringing things to life. And actually, I'm not much of a presets guy. I kind of like figuring out what I want to do. But presets are great. The mastering presets on here I use all the time. Fat, tight, and open. I might have even used it on this mix. It's just one of those magic things that goes, oh, that works. Sometimes it doesn't work, but you know, just I pretty much try it on every mix I do, no matter what the genre is, because sometimes it just does things. And the delay on it is really cool as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, final tweaking on a throw cue, just to
More
kind of-
EQing.
Yeah, and then this might crash. Not gonna do-
Yeah, that's quite a famous one.
Later, boy,
Yeah, so it looks like here. I mean, this is probably the lower down they are in this little list, the later in the process the production it will be, and I'll be sitting there near the end going, "John, the vocals just need a little bit more air."
Yeah.
Shove that on.
Yeah.
Put the air band up at 40 kilohertz and just pushing it up a little bit. Just doing
Nice.
a little bit of that and a little
Nice.
bit low end. Sorry, this is going on. It's a lot of channels.
Yeah, it's a
see you later, boy.
more compression.
Yeah, this is this sidechain compression here. So this
Oh, right.
Audio 42. Nobody knows what Audio 42 is. Come on. A
Kick.
big kick drum.
Big kick drum.
It's doing a little bit more of what the
Yeah.
Kickstart would have been doing. Which is,
Yeah. Sidechaining vocals. I don't really do that, but maybe I should.
I do you know what, I sometimes it just when you want things just to be like this needs to groove a bit more. Sometimes it's the vocals. Sometimes
Yeah. So with some of the songs, I had to readjust the girls' grooves to the track because they'd be, playing to a live swing drummer and, the rest of the musicians. And then I'm going, no, it has changed the groove to whatever swing setting I've got. I mean, that's probably something worth talking about is about the swing groove.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
This song. Did you like select and collect, make all the parts a certain swing groove, or did
No, probably not. But I would have gone through and retimed the vocals definitely because this is definitely from an older recording as such. especially this one. It's one of the later recordings of the old recordings. So I would have gone through and just gone and Melodyne, just made sure everything was like EDM tight. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, so dance music tight, not live music tight. I don't necessarily do. And you do this, and I probably should do it more often. I've probably gone through and just moved stuff if I felt it sounded out. In places. Like,
you're not doing the time walk, flex timing, and
I
matching.
don't tend to do flex time on vocals because I still think it sounds a bit pure on vocals.
Okay.
Depends. It can. It's you can get away with it, but I wouldn't do it on this where there's 5 vocals and it's. I tried not to. Sometimes it's the best way of fixing these things, but
yeah.
Because this track is a little bit more simplistic in terms of swing because everything's pretty 8th notey actually. It's like da, 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 and the only thing that's doing dugga dugga duggas are the vocals, which I've kind of gone through and made sure they're kind of lined up with each other to be swing.
Yeah.
And then like these little guitar bits, which will be
See you later, boy. I will not.
even that's 8th notey.
And what's the live? Is there any live drums in that section or the previous section?
Live drums is only in the verse sections.
Yeah.
I would have quantized these.
2/8 or
That looks like I've gone to swing something.
what's this? Is it a
16D.
D?
There we go,
16D. There you go. That's the magic. That's the magic letter for everyone.
Tends to be the one. I mean,
I find that too. I'm always on D, 16D,
and
8.
I'll play with this little strength thing. Sometimes I'll just put it on 16 and then kind of do the quantized strength until it feels good. I probably should just choose one and go with it. But then sometimes I like a little bit of ambiguity. I tried to say that, but ambiguity, because you can, and swing is that, it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
As soon as you start going too heavy with it, it just becomes naff.
Lose a bit of the soul, I guess, and the humanized element of it.
With this sort of stuff, it's a balance between the two, because you want the beats to be regular, so it's an easy thing to dance to, and you want things to line up, but you also want it to have at least I want it to have a flair of the live performance element.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got through our vocals. There's a room at the end.
And then you've probably got what's on the sends reverb,
a plate that's going to a
plate
kickstart.
and another Kickstart.
Yeah,
He's got Kickstart on the vocals. He's got Kickstart on the guitar. Kickstart
Definitely
on
on
the reverb. Wow, that is like. It's cool, man. Like, I never thought of doing that. Kickstart and everything. Pulsing.
The kick drum rules the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, but it doesn't. Some songs, I definitely remember a point of this production going, everything needs to sound a bit more sidechained, and I went in and go, what can I sidechain and make it sound cool? And this would have been one of those things definitely where it's like reverbs always sound cool when they're sidechained.
Nice. Echo Boy with
delay.
J3 slap delay. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just another reverb. I think that's probably just like a longer reverb. It may not be used.
Yeah. 1970s, low cut 500.
Oh god, I mean, this Valhalla's vintage verb is a wonderful thing, and I pretty much just use the default all the time because it sounds sometimes I will go through and I've shortened the decay and I've probably played with EQ.
But generally, it's like a go-to.
It just sounds good. All the other things sound good on there as well, but I just every time I slap it on. Sometimes it's very easy to go, maybe I should tweak this, If you slap it on, it sounds good. It sounds good.
It's the same as the Shimmer, Valhalla Shimmer is just like the standard is great. What's that? Spring delay or spring reverb? Oh, yes.
And I don't know if I'm using it or not. I'll probably put it on aux 45. Didn't name it. I've used it in the bridge.
And I don't want to be hasty. I don't
Yeah, it just adds a bit of
Yeah. Yeah. The kind of, shiny, reverby breakdown into,
yeah.
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 Nice.
I love
Nice.
string reverbs. I'm a big fan. Cool. That's the vocals. There's a lot, and it probably the vocal bus is going to another bus, so who knows what's on the end of that other bus? It could be more things. And actually, what I tend to do with like my vocal effects stuff now is they're kind of different things. So over here, I've got like delays. Instead of it being like automated from the vocal channel, I'll kind of sit there and kind of,
Mm.
and it might be all sorts of different things. So like micro shift, like a chorus thing on
Yeah.
thing, just to make it wider on nose, no, no, nose.
Yeah.
That's just another. Yeah, just little things to bolster the lead,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really good, man. Like it just the kind of detail that you've put into it and the knowledge and the ear and the warmth really like comes through, and all these little nuggets of detail. And for me, like the mids and the lows on this track are great. Can we look? I know we've pretty much gone through everything
Yeah.
on the track, but can we go back a little bit to the bass? Like, what did you do to the bass stuff? Because it's just so lovely, like, and
I mean,
rich.
to be honest, I think the sound between the double bass or the synth bass, both.
Both, all of it,
So
low
double
end.
bass is probably not doing that much. I've got a soothe. So this is my other use for soothe. This is a preset, but it just basically controlling the fundamental and the first harmonic of those notes. And I find on acoustic instruments that is a real lifesaver, especially if it depends on your monitoring as well. But like, this room isn't really big enough to kind of monitor anything below 50 hertz that well. So it's a
Yeah.
guesswork. So this kind of solves some of my guesswork, and then I'll try it on these, and I've got some, bigger headphones that have got a better low response that I would use.
Yeah,
My speakers are only going to do so much in here. So
wicked.
yeah, soothe, EQ. I obviously,
Wow.
yeah, that's quite big, isn't it?
Yeah, you
Where's that
really
coming
don't. Is that the kick?
Where's that coming in? It might be the kick, or it might be just that one note was really resonant.
Sure. It's great.
I mean,
That's,
it really goes down there. So I obviously pulled that out.
yeah,
I don't know what it was for.
yeah,
And then this was just like, I want a bit more of the tops to come through. That's it.
yeah.
And it surprises me that I've cut more down here, but actually, I think that would have been a later on in the game thing going, do you know what? I want the verses just to have a less low end in general. So when the chorus comes in, you suddenly get that low extension come back in.
And how do you monitor your bass stuff with the track in general? Do you put I put like span on the master?
I do various things. Like it's not on here necessarily, but I no, if they would, I've taken them off. But I do a couple of things. So I've got. Firstly, I'll just chuck a fab filter on, and I'll go like this, and I'll just listen to see what's happening going on.
But like in terms of the level,
Compared to everything else, you mean?
yeah,
I just do it by ear, if I'm honest.
sure.
I do. I've got some tips from you in that game, definitely, to kind of because you wanted to hit a certain point. I can't remember what it is now, but
Was minus 30 dB on the span, but that's like after the mastering. Like I sometimes like put a limiter on it and then try and get it to that level.
I do a lot of watching on here. I will say that. Like I'll sit for a while and go and just see where it's at.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
if it's kind of around the line, I'm pretty happy. Which is like minus 35,
And have you got no sidechain on the bass?
On the double bass, I don't.
No, on the sub.
On the sub bass, yes, I do.
Was it just the kickstart or?
Yeah, I've got. Oh, what's bus 30 when it's at home? It's like it might be vocals actually kind of pushing down that. I think maybe when the bass goes into the high mid area, making sure it doesn't get too much in the way.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Around like 400, 600.
We're doing a bit of mid-side stuff here as well.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about like using a sawtooth is it just does the whole frequency.
Yes.
And you're like, that sounds good, but then if it's a song like this with so much going on and so many instruments and so much detail, it's like, how do you showcase the sawtooth being as good as it can, whilst all the other elements can kind of cut through as well.
Yeah, and it's an interesting, particularly on this one where it's like there is a lot going on. Who knows? If I take the sub out there, well, all you want to do is hear a little bit of farting in the gaps, right? That's it. That's all I'm from the saw here, and because of side chaining, it does that. It never gets too much in the way. I think initially, without this, it's yeah. It really needs that to kind of sucking thing, going on.
Yeah. It's great, man. It's really, really good.
Arrow for the win.
And then on the synth bass comp plus, and have you got side chains with?
I have sidechained the sub differently. I've sidechained it to guess the kick, so that's probably not doing it as much. So probably I probably do it separately. Just I want that sub level to be a bit more consistent, I guess, and it's not in the way of anything apart from the kick. So
and you've put an L2 on the sub as well, which is controversial.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So do you find that if you put an L2 on a sub, it gives it a digital distortion?
Yeah. Does.
And you want that.
I think I probably wanted a bit of control. So just like I know there's consistency. It's never getting too loud. Like those points down, kind of go. Sometimes I just do this, and I really want it to be kind of like. I want a bit of that crunchiness. I don't want that here because I don't care. You're not going to hear it, but it's I'm just using it for control. It's the same as using a compressor. I'm just being a bit meaner to it. Really.
Yeah. I think I've got a tendency just to not push things. Like with my panning or my
Sometimes you got to push things around a little bit.
I think
it's good to start from a base of like control, definitely.
Yeah, I think it was Dave Posado that said you do your song, but then you've got to have something wow and something that like you can have the perfect mix and everything's just perfect, but you still need to have that wow factor. And sometimes that is just pushing it a little bit too much, and watching him and his videos online, just him just proper geeking out oh, listen to that sounds wicked, and I'm just like, oh no, that's wrong. You can't go into the red or whatever, or you can't, you're not supposed to go into that area. But he's like, no, like that's the exciting element that kind of gives you the ear candy or whatever, and just pushes it to that level to give it that wow factor. So
I remember reading something somewhere once. It's like, how do you get noticed as a mix engineer? So mix a song, balance it really well, and then make one element really loud. It's quite silly advice. I wouldn't necessarily go with that, but I get the point of it. It's like, oh wow, he's put that really. It's really bold, that sound being really loud. These sort of things do make a difference, and like rules are there to guide you, not necessarily. Yeah. And I think a balanced mix is often boring. So I think you've got to have something that's, you say, wow factor. And actually throughout the song, like I feel like each section needs to have something that's sonically interesting. That's probably just production and mixing brain. I don't, but
So I've just got two more questions for you.
Okay,
What was the hardest bit about this track? What was the trickiest? I mean, you said you put we talked about a lot of things on the vocals, but
that's
what was
hard.
the
Yeah, getting the
was that?
right tone for the vocals was the hardest thing, and I think it is. You can see this is not a choice. Like I
Yeah,
wouldn't choose to put this many stuff on. It's me going. I was probably about 5 plugins down at the beginning.
yeah,
Probably 6 plugins. I probably got to a sketch cassette and kind of go, right, cool. That's kind of where I wanted to sit. And as the mix develops, is like, do you know what? I don't think the vocals are quite vintage enough, or they're not poking through enough, or they need to be sidechained more, or whatever it might be. And it's just go, right, try that, try that, try that. I tend to not go back and restart often. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I go, what are you doing? You don't need 20 plugins on the thing. But it changes. Sometimes there is only 2 plugins because it works well like it is. But it was definitely this is definitely a mix that was an experiment along the way, because I really like mixing any type of dance music is has things where it's kind of cool. I know where I'm at with that. Mixing dance music where you got a 5 girl group harmony group, that's a really tricky game, and we talked about it before. But it's like it's not necessarily dance music, because it's also got a verse chorus structure. It's also got like we're tending to do like verse chorus drop, verse chorus drop. That's kind of like the most basic arrangement that kind of works with this, especially when we're taking old songs as well, where it's there wouldn't have been the drop section. They kind of manufactured those into this. It kind of works well now.
yeah.
But essentially, I want the harmony side of the group is a point of the girl. That's the point of the group.
Yeah.
You
That's
want to
it.
hear those harmonies, and you want
Yeah.
it to sound really cool and lush, and vocalist lover will come in and go, oh, I love the harmonies they're doing. That
Yeah.
needs to be there. And
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
that to balance with the dance music world is quite tricky. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I just to mention as well, this track has also been vocalized by a choir.
yeah, that was mental.
Yeah, you see that video of like I think they're in Germany, I
Yeah.
think. And they're performing this song with a choir and brass band, full band, like, and just like I don't know, 50 people singing this song. So if you want to go check that out, I'm pretty sure it's on Eleanor Puckerbell's Instagram. I watched it and I was like, I don't know what. Like, it took me a moment to realize what was going on.
So it's quite sweet, and like French choir accent as well.
Yes, you must go. Oh, it's French, not German.
Yeah,
Is it
French choir.
German?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Big up those guys.
Yeah, amazing.
And then I guess this leads me on to my last question, which is, what's your favorite part of this track,
Honestly, I
or
love.
something you're most proud of?
I think that the transition from the intro into the first, like where the first drums come in, like this whole.
And take your coat. Ooh, I'll see you around.
I think that's so satisfying. So many things happen at that point.
Yeah.
And managing those sort of things can be really tricky. And I definitely spent a lot of time making sure that first bit like hit.
Yeah.
It's the main thing. This is the first track they're releasing, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, cool, yeah, vintage. Is it? Oh, and it slaps too, wicked. Like,
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to get, and it's, yeah. I if I don't mind picking myself up, I think it got there, But
Absolutely. I think it's wicked. I like the little guitar ear candy roll into it. And we performed this track in Brussels, and so I made like a vintage intro,
nice.
and then it came into that, and then they basically like walked onto the intro to the back of the stage, and then their tune dropped on that, and then they walked out, and the crowd were like, woohoo! It was great. It was so cool. Like, just like that kind of like that impact. And I think, like you said, it's the first single. It's got a bang, and that's why I got Spotify editorial playlist, which is great. Spotify. Did I say SoundCloud? What did I say?
Yeah, Spotify. Yeah.
Spotify. So I think and I said it before, man. You absolutely smashed this record.
Thank you. And it's not just me. You put a lot into this as well. Like I did two bits, but it was it came to me in a good place, and we kind of like
Yeah, no, and I just think it's just like all that detail, like I could definitely hear, and I was just like, whoa, this is a high quality production, and I'm really excited for the album. I think it's out in February. I'm sorry, I've like
13th, I want to
30
say. I might be
February.
wrong.
Yeah, so it's out
Or might be
soon.
16th. It's around that time. The 10th
Yeah,
of February is out somewhere then. Yeah.
yeah, freshly squeezed. Go play it, stream it, download it. I'm not sure when we're going to put this out. Try and put it out before. I hope this has been good for you, Joe, and informative for our
It's fun.
audience.
It's quite exposing of like crap.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
that
yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
supporting fucking something. But I think I hope it kind of explains, a way of doing things. Like there's no right or wrong way, and that's kind of the key thing I kind of always want to point out with this. Is like just try stuff, right? Like there are rules. Use them when you need them.
Mm, mm. Wicked. Joe Rodwell, thank you very much for your time.
Always. I'll speak to you soon. I can't do that. Wait a minute. Oh shit. Just trying to stop recording it now. How do I stop recording? Stop recording.